Hey there, YouTube. It's me, Christian, again, making another video. Excuse the mess on my bed. It's laundry day, so kind of in the midst of just cleaning up and doing laundry and stuff like that. So, pardon my mess. I'm working on it. But I wanted to make another video um, about another thing that has been on my mind a lot, especially in these last few months, since I have seriously, more seriously committed myself to the teachings of Christianity and things that I've noticed that once you do notice are rather hard to unsee, dare I say, impossible to unsee. And what I want to talk about in regards to that is the unseen realm of spiritual warfare and how that manifests within our society today and what that looks like as far as I see it. Again, these videos don't really reach many people. I don't know if anyone will be really see it much, but feel free to agree or disagree. I'd love to hear some other people's experiences, or if the things that I say ring true to them, um, or if you've noticed similar things. Because sometimes I feel like maybe I'm going crazy a little bit, but yeah. So the unseen realm of spiritual warfare. Before I really dive into that, though, I have been reading. I picked this up the other day from my a local bookstore in downtown Milwaukee. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And there's some really really good stuff in here. I was aware of this book before, but I had never actually read it. And I've been just kind of moving through it and reading, rereading passages. Um, but in light of current events, and I don't really want to get too into all that because I feel like everyone's been talking about it, and I don't think I really have anything particularly new to add. But condolences to everyone who's been affected by that. It caught me off guard, certainly. And I didn't want to rush to make a video about it because I wanted to think about it more, and not say things that I would regret later. And I think it's important to take time, especially in moments where it's easy to fall into despair or anger, um, and seek out revenge, or um, not be in full control of your thoughts, justifiably so sometimes. But anyways, I wanted to read a passage from that book, Meditations, and this is the first passage of book number 2. But I feel like it's pretty pertinent to how I've been feeling, and I think a lot of people have been feeling, and something to be mindful of in the coming days as things seem to be getting crazier and crazier by the minute. So I'm just going to read that passage and then get into the topic of this video, but I think it connects. So, say to yourself in the early morning, I shall meet today inquisitive, ungrateful, violent, treacherous, envious, uncharitable men. All these things have come upon them through ignorance of real good and ill. But I, because I have seen that the nature of good is the right, and of ill is the wrong, and that the nature of the man himself who does wrong is akin to my own, not of the same blood and seed, but partaking with me in mind, that is, in a portion of divinity. I can neither be harmed by any of them, for no man will involve me in wrong. Nor can I be angry with my kinsman or hate him, for we have come into the world to work together, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of upper and lower teeth. To work against one another, therefore, is to oppose nature, and to be vexed with another or to turn away from him is to tend to antagonism. I think that's very Uh, very deep, very poignant, and very pertinent to the climate that seems to be evolving in real time rather rapidly on the world stage, and within the United States, certainly. So, um, yeah. But anyways, so to get to the topic of this, and I think it does tie into this, is the unseen realm of spiritual warfare and how that manifests in modern society. So something that I've noticed, especially in the studying that I've been doing, reading the Bible, committing myself to that beyond just reading it, but taking it rather seriously. It's become very important to me. Um, is my spirituality and my connection with God, um, with the gospel of Jesus, and um, the salvation that brings. With that, I feel as though it seems that almost everything in modern society seems to run countercurrent to the ideals laid out to be followed by Christians. And what do I mean by that? Is that idolatry is at an all-time high. We idolize men before God, and oftentimes the people that we are placing in these positions of idol and worship, venerating them to the highest levels of society, seem to be, by and large, in direct opposition to the values bestowed on Christians through the Testament, the New Testament. So things that you see in modern culture that run countercurrent to that, for example, greed. Greed is extremely acceptable in today's society. The grind set culture of just not caring about anything except making as much money as possible, the hoarding of wealth, putting it above everything. It's impossible not to see it, even if you're not a Christian. I think you can agree that is a real problem. Lust. Lust is another huge one. That's one that I've struggled with a lot in my life. Um, I, I'm getting better about it, but certainly lust, especially with like pornography, OnlyFans, uh, like Tinder, and like that kind of like dating culture of like the swipe left, swipe right, like this really shallow dating culture. Luckily, I missed the boat on that. Me and my wife have been together for a long time, so I never really experienced that, but I know it is a problem, certainly. And lust too. I think that when people think of lust, they think purely of like a sexual element of lust, and I think that is certainly the case, and maybe the most widely accepted definition of it. But I think you can lust after other things too, um, and it like certain like greed. It kind of ties into greed, lusting after money, lusting after power, lusting after influence. There's a lot of things outside of the realm of sex that you can lust after. Adult adultery, again, that's ties into like pornography. I do believe that, and feel free to disagree, but this is my opinion of what I've come to understand, is that, and I've made a video about this. It was my first video that I made, but engaging in pornography and stuff, in my opinion, is cheating on your spouse. It's giving your attention and your energy to another woman, or man, I guess, if that's what you do, or if you're a woman watching this, and straying outside of relationships. The divorce rate is abysmal. Over 50% of marriages end in divorce. just giving up on your partner, looking outside of the relationship um, to fulfill needs that you should be looking and building within your own. Impulsiveness, that is another one that seems to be a real problem, I think. Um, and it kind of ties into another video I made about attention span, building your attention span and being mindful of your time and taking time to think for yourself, learning to enjoy silence. But we've become so used to instant gratification that everything is just like really, really impulsive, especially amongst younger people. It seems to be getting worse. Drunkenness. Um, it's hard to be connected to God in a drunken state. Not to say that if you drink or you do drugs or anything that you're not, not going to heaven or anything like that. I don't really know. Again, this is all new to me, but it was the reason that I stopped smoking weed. Is that I felt like that was hindering my ability to be sure of the experiences that I was having or to conduct myself the way that I want to. But and those are just examples of things that I've noticed. However, it seems like all of those things are celebrated in modern society, and not only celebrated but encouraged. And again, if you look at the people that are venerated, the celebrities, the like modern music trends, especially with rap music and things like that, it's encouraged and celebrated within that sphere, that culture, and it's I think pretty abhorrent, honestly. And don't get me wrong, like I've listened to plenty of rap. I grew up listening to hip hop and rap, and I still do. Sometimes I've been having a harder and harder time listening to it. The further I kind of have gotten into my journey, I've been finding that with a lot of different music that I used to really, really enjoy listening to, and then it's like I'm hearing it through different ears now, almost, which is interesting to me. But it's just so distasteful to me now. A lot of what they're talking about. There's plenty of good like hip hop and rap that's like, you know, doesn't talk about things like that. But I think the majority of like mainstream stuff, and when you think of rap music, that's probably the first thing that comes to your head. It certainly is the first thing that comes to mind. Um, Something else that points to like this state of spiritual warfare in modern society is, to me, how it seems like there's a concerted effort to make it difficult to start a family, and it's almost looked down upon. I feel like women are encouraged to give up that in lieu of chasing a career. And I think that's much to the detriment of women and to men, honestly. I never, when I was younger, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have kids. And it wasn't really something that was planned out. It just kind of happened, as, those things do. But now I feel so grateful, to have a family and have two kids and my wife. And it really straightens you out. It did for me, at least. And teaches you how to, to avoid a lot of these pitfalls, to put others before yourself, to consider the decisions that you're making beyond just how they're going to affect you, but how is this going to affect my wife and my children? If I make this bad decision, how are we going to afford to live? How are we going to afford groceries? How are we going to do these things? And I think that you see a lot of selfishness now in modern society, because there's a lot of people who are just purely living for themselves. They've never had to make those sacrifices and live for anyone else. They live purely based on the feeling of the moment, no long-term thoughts about the future, um, their own future, or the future of the country. Really, it's all about hedonistic indulgence of the moment. And not to say that there aren't bad parents out there. I'm surely not the best parent, if such a thing exists. But I do try, and I think I feel a lot of sadness for people that have written off that experience as not important. I think it's such a fundamental part of being a human and the human experience, and it really does give you a stake in the future of things as well. um, and I think that it's no coincidence that the more the family structure has dissolved within this country, the worse things have gotten, because people are no longer, they don't care about the future. Why would they? When they're done, they're done. They're gone. As far as they are concerned, because a lot of these, people are nihilists or non-religious. They don't believe in anything. Um, and so as far as they're concerned, once I'm off this earth, that's it and lights out. So I might as well be as selfish and greedy and have as much fun as I can while I'm here. And who cares about the future? I'm not going to be part of it. Um, but when you have kids, uh, you have a much larger stake in the direction that the country is going, and where you would like to see it go. Ideally, you'd like your kids to at least have as good a life as you do raising them, if not better. I think is probably most people's opinion. It's certainly mine. I want my kids to have a better life and avoid a lot of the pitfalls and bad choices that I've made throughout my life. Um, so that's something else that I think points to this spiritual warfare, that's happens at high levels outside of the sight, beyond the realm of what men's eyes can perceive. Um, so sorry, let me change the page here. So it seems like, I guess the main point is, it seems like so much of this modern society and this spiritual warfare asks you to give up your soul for the sake of modern comfort and convenience, much to the detriment of you and the people around you, because it makes you so weak, and not self-reliant, and you have to look to others to support you, to hold you up. And don't get me wrong, no man is an island. Everyone needs help every once in a while. Um, but it just seems like, you know, it's crazy to look back through history and just see when men in the family unit were stronger. You know, men have been willing to lay their lives down for far less than the shit that we're enduring these days. Uh, I'll say that pretty consistently. And it just seems like, due to the modern comforts and conveniences, everyone is so in love with their own life that they're afraid to lose it, because they think that there's nothing coming after it. And I don't think that's true. I know it's not true. Um, but that is the mindset of a lot of people these days. And then this is something I wrote, and it was more of just my own thought on what is the responsibility of a man. And I think it's pretty simple. Um, the responsibility of a man, the responsibility of a father. And I think the first responsibility is to be a protector, to be willing and able to stand up and put yourself between harm and your family. 100%. I think that is the primary duty and role of a father, is to be willing to protect your family at any means necessary, to the absolute bitter end. Um, secondary to that is to provide for your family, to take the responsibilities, not just monetarily, but through wisdom, through guidance. And it kind of fits into my third point, to be a shepherd to your family, much like Jesus was a shepherd to his followers. Your duty as a man and a father is to be a shepherd to your family, to guide them and push them towards what is right, even if they don't like you for it. Um, and it's hard sometimes, you know. You want you want to be liked, especially by your family, but it is ultimately your duty to be the person that steers the ship and makes those hard decisions sometimes. Um, and then the last two things, the duty of a man and the duty of a father, is to build up that which is good and to abhor that which is bad and instill those values onto your children, um, so that the future can be better for everyone. So, you know, I think that my final thought with this is that, you know, it seems like things are kind of developing and happening at a breakneck pace, um, especially in lieu of recent events. Um, and I would just encourage people to not be rash, to not to use your brain, um, to not seek physical harm against other people unless absolutely necessary in defense of yourself or your family, but to not go out and instigate, um, you know. But I do understand, because it does seem that, you know, this is a chance for us all to become active participants in our own futures and the future of the space we live in. And it seems like right now we are at a watershed moment where we're going to have to decide what that looks like for us and for our kids and for our kids' kids and all future generations down the road. Um, it seems like time is moving faster these days, and the earth is spinning faster, you know what I mean? And so, again, I would just encourage you guys, anybody who sees this, to please read your Bibles, pray. Um, I certainly have been and will continue to do so. Um, form a relationship with God, get to know Him, invite Him into your life, and try as hard as you can to uphold those values and live by the axioms and wisdom that are presented in those words. Um, because I think right now, more than ever, that is what we need. So this was a bit of a long one. Sorry, it was kind of all over the place. But if you did manage to make it to the end, I really do appreciate it. Humbly thank you to anyone who took the time. God bless, and I will hopefully see you around. Bye.